All right, everybody, welcome to part one of a two-part little diddly we're doing here for what you need to know leading into Wrestlemania for the Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes little showdown we got going. First of all, we're just going to fill you in on how the Bloodline kind of became to be. We'd like to give a shout out to a user on Reddit. The Reddit is Squared Circle, Mr. Noah Man Cometh. We'll put him in the description of the video. For a nice little bullet point on that's kind of led us up to this point, made it a lot easier for us to track it for you all. But we'll go ahead and just dive right into it. So to begin the Bloodline, we had Roman Reigns back in the year 2020 during COVID. Vacates the title and takes a leave of absence at the start of the pandemic, as we all know, due to him being immunocompromised with his leukemia. Can't really blame him there. Comes back a few months later. I want to say, I don't remember the exact months. I think it was around August, September, around SummerSlam there. Comes back as a heel. First time in his career being a heel, really. Solo, with Paul Heyman as his manager, and wins the Universal title from The Fiend and Braun Strowman in the triple threat match. Later on, we have Jimmy Uso out with a legitimate knee injury, setting up Jey Uso as a mid-card babyface on SmackDown. Roman Reigns claiming to be the tribal chief and wants his cousin Jey to acknowledge him, in which Jey refuses. Roman and Jey wrestle at a pay-per-view for the title, with Roman winning and beating down Jey after the match, which is stopped by a hurt Jimmy Uso acknowledging Roman to help get him to stop. A rematch is then set, with the stipulation that if Jey loses, he must acknowledge Roman Reigns as the tribal chief and join him. Jey loses and joins Roman, but is very hesitant at it. This happens at that Hell in a Cell match. It's a great match if you ever feel the need to go back and watch it. Next up, we have the next build to it is Roman picking up a lot of steam and eventually feuding with Daniel Bryan for the title in Daniel Bryan's little twilight era in WWE at this point. Bryan looks close to winning, but Jey full turns and buys in, knocking Bryan out and giving him the win. From this moment on, Roman's referring to him as the right-hand man. Jey and an eventually returning healthy Jimmy help Roman defeat many challengers, including Kevin Owens in a triple threat against Edge and Daniel Bryan in the main event at WrestleMania. So that is sort of the building of the Bloodline there. Ken, you want to take our next little history dump?
Sir, so we're at the beginning of the Bloodline. With major wins under his belt, Roman formally establishes the Bloodline, Roman, the Usos, and Paul Heyman as special counsel. Skipping around a bit, the Bloodline is instrumental in helping Roman in defeating every challenge to his title, including Goldberg, Braun Strowman, and more. The Usos also beat Mysterios for the SmackDown tag titles and begin their historic run. Brock Lesnar comes back and begins a storyline where Roman has to question if Heyman is loyal to Lesnar or the Bloodline. This is important because it reflects where we are with Sami now, but that's later. Initially, Heyman reveals that he hasn't severed ties with Lesnar and is kicked out of the group, literally. He realigns himself with Lesnar, leading to a big showdown between the two. Heyman eventually turns on Brock and proves his loyalty to Roman. This is key to helping Roman retain his title against Brock. Furious, Brock wins the Rumble and eventually WWE title, and the main event of WrestleMania is set to be a title unification match. Roman wins the title and is now the undisputed champion and the tribal chief of the entire WWE.
Alright, now on to Sami Zayn. Since pre-pandemic, Sami Zayn was struggling in the mid-card. He was working primarily as a manager for Nakamura and Cesaro for a large part of 2020 and 2019. Even though he successfully defended the Intercontinental title at Mania against Daniel Bryan, he kind of bounced around the mid-card through 2021 and 2022 as well. Post-Rumble 2022, he began a feud with Johnny Knoxville and the Jackass crew. That was a really fun match to watch, by the way.
That's a good one.
Yeah. This gave him some momentum, and he begins a storyline and tries to get a sense of belonging. After feeling embarrassed by Knoxville, then he tried to seek out some friends. You've seen him in the SmackDown locker room talking with the Bloodline, telling them Roman, I acknowledge you. And this leads into the Bloodline of 2022.
All right, for the Bloodline of 2022, Sami, again, very desperate for relevance, as John mentioned, is trying to hang around, be friends with Roman and the rest of the Bloodline. Initially, they're pretty kind of annoyed at him at first. But Roman warms up to him, kind of like the little kids you adopt, like we did with John. Make him feel good. And allows him to hang around in an unofficial capacity. Jimmy and Heyman are okay with this, but Jay is very suspicious and angry about it. And throughout the summer, Sammy becomes more and more useful to Roman. And each week is seemingly more integrated into the group, with Jay still super pissed about it. The Usos beat RK Bro for the Raw Tag titles and are now the undisputed tag team champions, with the Bloodline unifying all titles together now. As the summer comes to a close, Roman is approaching 2 years as champion, accumulating on the road to Clash at the Castle, where Roman will defend against Drew McIntyre in the first UK pay-per-view in, British Bulldog days. During the build-up, Sammy jumps in front of Roman and takes Drew's Claymore kick, sacrificing himself for Roman. Roman then makes Sammy an honorary member of the Bloodline, really pissing off Jay at this point. And eventually the Bloodline is banned from interfering in the Roman-Drew match at the UK pay-per-view, including Sammy.
Can I say this was one of the greatest parts of all this was Sammy getting all the characters to break.
Mm-hmm.
Every time they were together, they all try to stay straight-faced, but Sammy was key.
Well, and we'll see. That's the rest of his arc too, man. We'll get into it, but holy cow, he really gets there in there in between the bricks, don't he?
He made it tough on him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just want to know if y'all are feeling Usi.
watching Jay try to keep a straight face while every time he said Usi was gold.
He kept smashing his face into his hand to cover it up, kind of like, one of these,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you had Roman trying to regather himself afterwards. The same thing.
Yeah, Roman was struggling, and Roman's made out of granite, so that tells you how funny it was.
It was some of the best work in forever. Before we move on to Clash at the Castle, a little side story info. John, tell us about Solo a bit.
Yeah, Solo is the Usos' legitimate little brother, and he was part of the NXT for about a year. He did win the North American NXT title. That run was kind of fun to watch. If you got to watch him in his NXT days, he kind of reminded me of Umaga a lot. He still really does with the Samoan spike and all that. But we'll go ahead and move on to Clash at the Castle.
Yeah, so good intro on Solo. Clash at the Castle, McIntyre's got Roman's number. He's coming hard for him, and is looking to be finally the guy to beat him. And then Solo, like we said, man, comes out of nowhere. He's a dirty street fighter. He fights hard. He's good. Cost him the match. And with that, Solo's added to the bloodline. So now we got all four in the family, all in the same bloodline with our honorary Us. This under the pretext that the Samoan elders sent him to Roman. So that's how we see the bloodline now. So now we've got, we got Solo, we got the Usos, and we got Roman. So this now shifts to this rift between Jay and Sammy, like we've been talking about. Sammy just wants to make peace and be accepted. Jay's not having that, though. And Roman continuously, we see through this man, he's impressed with Sammy. I mean, Sammy takes hits. Like, he takes hits, he takes hits, he takes hits. And he's always taking bullets for the family, which is, I think, obviously why Roman likes him so much. He gets a shirt, right, if you remember. So he gets his honorary Us shirt. And then, that's what creates the drama that leads to the Usos and Sammy starts losing matches. They start losing some of their touch, some of their energy. They got an in-ring promo where Roman orders Jay and Sammy to hash out their problems and make peace. Sammy's on board with this, but Jay loses his cool, and in the process, and this was a wild moment, we all remember it, Sammy tells him, something that Roman had said, and Jay shoots back with, I don't give a damn what the tribal chief says.
Yep.
Talk about a tense moment in the ring. Pissed Roman off, obviously. He sides with Sammy on this one. I mean, after what Jay said, how couldn't he? And tells Jay if he doesn't start getting along, he's going to make Sammy into Sammy Uso. He's going to make him an official Uso brother. So all this friction builds up as we're getting closer to the Survivor Series and the War Games match. And I mean, if you remember backstage, they were asking why, and Jay told him, he said, you haven't really, like, we've got our tag team champs. Roman's got his legacy. What are you bringing into the family? So Heading into the Survivor Series and the War Games match, though, Kevin Owens, Sam's lifelong friend on the opposing team, in the backstage promo, KO warns Sammy that Roman's using him. Advises him to turn on the Bloodline before they turn on him. And Sammy, dismisses him, pushes him along. Jey Uso overheard him talking, though, confronts Sammy about it. Sammy lies to Jey and feigns ignorance. And then Jey tells Roman, he goes and tells him about the lie. And Roman confronts Sammy about it, he admits it happened, but pledges his loyalty to Roman, acknowledges him, everything. Roman accepts that, and he takes it with grace, and they move on. And that's where we get into the War Games.
So, and what may be, in my personal opinion, the match of 2022, War Games. God bless you. But genuinely, match of the year, in my opinion. If you haven't seen anything from the Bloodline, go watch the War Games match. But the finish, more important parts of the match, because we could do 2 hours on this match. The finish sees Sammy low blow to give Jey the win. Low blow Kevin Owens specifically. And it's very important as Roman now sees Sammy's loyalty and Jey finally accepts Sammy and they embrace. And coming into 2023, on the road to WrestleMania, the official start of it. Since War Games, the Bloodlines have been helping and winning. However, Sammy's loyalty is being tested by Kevin Owens, leading to Roman and Kevin Owens at the Royal Rumble. Before the Royal Rumble, we have the trial of Sammy, questioning his loyalty, with Paul Heyman even turning on him and saying Sammy isn't loyal, with Jey being the one to actually defend him.
Mm-hmm.
Going into the Royal Rumble, it's Kevin Owens versus Roman for the Undisputed Championship at the Rumble, with Roman winning due to interference, obviously. At the end, though, Kevin ends up handcuffs to the ropes. Everybody takes a turn beating him down until we get to Sammy, who is very hesitant to attack Owens. Reigns goes to attack Kevin with the chair. Sammy stops him. Roman says Sammy needs to be the one to do it. And then, a la Shield breakup, Sammy hits Roman with the chair, officially making his choice and siding with Kevin Owens and ready to take down the Bloodline. Which leads us into the build-up for Elimination Chamber.
Dude, I'm blanking on how that match actually ended.
It was a great match, back and forth. I mean, it's probably one of Sammy's best matches, as well as Roman's. You had Roman probably playing the greatest heel company has seen since The Rock. I mean, playing to the crowd and towards Sammy's family, which then led to a lot of kickouts, which, Roman ended up coming on top, which I don't think anybody really, we'll call it, but we all thought that Sammy was going to win that one. That's when we had Usos come in. Kevin came in, saved him at the end, and walked out. So I thought it was, to me, that's so far been the best match of 2023 so far. And I know it was the beginning part of the year, and we still got, WrestleMania and stuff, but
right. But
I think Roman's play at heel in that match.
Yeah. But now we have Kevin and KO finally teaming up after a couple weeks of build-up, and they're going to take on the Usos at WrestleMania. Not to get too far ahead of ourselves, we're going to go ahead and cut that off.
And we'll mention that in the next part when we bring everything together.
Yeah.
But that is our quick Bloodline rundown.
I could throw in a few sidecar sillies. Back towards the beginning, we got some of the best WWE memes out of Daniel Bryan just inserting himself into that triple threat with Edge and Roman. So that was pretty big for somebody who's not in the Bloodline. Then you guys remember the last man standing match between Roman and Kevin Owens, when Paul Heyman could not get Roman Reigns unhandcuffed, and the referee blatantly does not count to 10, just stands there looking at him.
Yeah.
And then one of my personal favorite moments was Drew McIntyre getting up almost immediately after losing in Cardiff and started singing with the crowd for some unknown reason, which I thought was pretty funny, but...
Yeah.
Forgot about that.
I guess it was supposed to cut off, but they still had like 5 minutes of run time after the match was over. So I guess that was supposed to not be on air, which would make more sense, but you know, I thought it was pretty funny watching him sing to the crowd in Cardiff, so...
Yeah.
Going back to Clash, isn't that when Austin Theory tried to cash in and got knocked out by Tyson Fury?
Yes,
Yeah.
it did.
Yeah.
Because I heard his music and I was like, it's gonna happen, and then it didn't happen.
Tyson Fury had other plans.
I'm gonna go back to the Hell in a Cell with Jay and Roman. That was one of my favorite matches ever. I thought that one was there's a lot of emotion going into that one, and then just seeing Roman put on his best acting of breaking down like he was gonna cry, and then just turning on Jimmy.
Yeah, right. And Jimmy fresh out from the knee surgery and putting him in the choke. That was brutal.
But
Roman, Jimmy, and Jay have been doing some pretty solid, like, you know, character work, just as far as, like, you know, making it seem like they're legitimately going to start breaking down and crying and feeling different kinds of emotions. They've really done a great job of selling that kind of stuff.
yeah,
I think for me, you know, like I haven't had like a action or a stable like this ever, and they've really set the bar, I think, almost an unattainable levels, you know, like for Judgment Day and people like this. I just don't think they'll ever get to the height of what the Bloodline got to over these last 2 years.
It's hard, man. I mean, like, look at the material they've got to work with. Like, how do you compete with actual real life family, right? Like, because that's what they keep coming back to. I mean, when Jay finally, I mean, just in the last few weeks, right, when he turned on Sami, he thought he let Jimmy think he was going back to Sami Zayn, and then just knocked the tar out of Sami and put him out in one blow. And that's what he kept going back to. He said, I was like, I didn't want to hit Sami. I didn't want to take Sami out. I didn't want to turn on Sami. But he's like, what do you do if a family's car's broke down? You give them a ride. If their gas is out, you pay their bill. If they're out of groceries, you buy them groceries. And he's like, it's blood. He's like, I don't have a choice. So I'm with you. I don't know how they will build, at least with what we got in the pool right now, a legacy like the Bloodline, because you can't beat 4 people who are actually related to each other. And even Paul, I mean, you got Paul in there, and he's been working with their family for how many decades? I mean, he's been with them for generations. So you're right, man. I mean, I really do. If the Bloodline falls here, it's going to be, you know, say what you will about Roman, the way he gaslights and treats his family, but it's going to be hard to
king, man.
apart. He's the gaslight king. But yeah, talk about a legacy. Talk about a legacy. It's I think it's one of the greatest storylines in all of WWE history.
The only thing that could make this better would be adding The Rock into this.
I was about to say.
It would, but that's the thing, it's all organic, and you can't beat any written storytelling for something that's completely, entirely organic like this.
Yeah.
Right. If The Rock goes up in Mania and hits Cody Rhodes with the rock bottom, that might go
Deep Six. Done.
You'll see me hit John with a rock bottom is what'll happen.
I know it's probably not going to happen, but if The Rock shows up at WrestleMania 39, I'm going to have to bring an extra change of pants, buddy, because I'm going to shit mine. It's going to be the greatest WrestleMania.
I've already predicted Roman winning, as much as nobody wants me to say it, but yeah, that's why Dakota's going to hit me with a rock bottom if The Rock shows up and that happens.
It's mostly just because The Rock shows up, but
yeah, if The Rock shows up, that Roman, the second The Rock walks out onto that stage, Roman's not losing. Like, they're not going to bring The Rock in and then into Bloodline on the same episode. I mean, like, that ain't going to happen in a WrestleMania. You can't know. So, at least I guarantee
Cody with the rock bottom. That's what I'd like to see.
Yeah, I mean,
Cody strong. I mean, who's going to get out of the rock bottom at WrestleMania? Nobody. So you have The Rock join the Bloodline, advances the story for another 6 months at least.
Yeah.
Okay,
Do you think-
so if you go that route, how do you end it?
You ended at
That'll
SummerSlam.
be Rock
with-
and next year's Mania, right?
I'd say
I'm
they
saying,
ended
like,
at SummerSlam because the rumor is that Triple H wants to split the titles by then. So you'd have Cody and The Rock each fight him for one title with The Rock, trying to say he's the true tribal chief.
You think The
I'm
Rock
mad.
would come back in a consistent way, though, or would he? I mean, he might show up for WrestleMania or SummerSlam, but you think he would actually come back for
He
even?
did it with Cena.
That's what he'd probably do, like the Cena thing, make his little one-off appearances and show up for the matches, and that'd be about it.
Yeah, his fight with KO in December was fantastic. Yeah, I mean, I can see it. I can see The Rock showing up for a couple. I'd love it. It'd be great. I'd love to see The Rock fight again.
Yeah.
He's, if anything,
Not in shape.
much stronger and faster than he used to be.
Somehow he's not in shape.
Right. So
Shape to me, but you know.
Dakota hits Hook with the Rock bottom. If Rock shows up, then I'm hitting Hook with the Crossroads if Cody wins.
You know what? I'm taking a bump regardless. All right, fine.
I'll lose root for it, man. Shit.
How quickly does Macy get pissed? What's the over/under on it?
Well, how hard am I going to sell it? That's the real question here. See how pissed she gets.
I'll even let you stunner me, and I'll let you give me a stunner, and I'll sell that shit like The Rock used to. Like, I will flop all over the house.
Oh, The Rock didn't just flop, man. He did a 360 degrees of bounce every time he got hit one of those stunners, dude. He flipped at every end.
I will use every inch of whoever's house we are at. Like, I'm destroying furniture, putting holes in wall. I'm gonna bounce off a wall so hard, hit you with the people's elbow, keep selling it.
Perfect. Love to see it. No, it's going to be a hell of a WrestleMania, man. I mean, Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, like, talk about two legacies. Cody's coming back into it. He hadn't been into it for a little while, but he built a hell of a foundation back when he was fighting more consistently, and he's been hauling his ass up this year, ever since last WrestleMania. So it's good to see him back. And, I mean, either way, it's going to be a hell of a fight. The Bloodline versus, you know, Rhodes now has Sammy coming in with him. You know, he stood up against the Bloodline and against Solo, keeping Sammy up on his feet. So, I mean, we know Sammy's a hell of a fighter. We know Cody's got grit. And then there's just a mesh and a bond and an energy with the Bloodline you can't beat, but it looks like it's got some cracks in it. So I guess we're going to see in WrestleMania, you know, is Cody going to exploit those cracks? I mean, Sammy's whole relationship with him has been...
I don't think it's Sam. As much as I like, you know, I'm a Cody guy, you know, and much as I think he's gonna win and stuff, I don't think that it's really gonna be them breaking the rest of the armor. Wild card is Solo right now.
Excuse me, my wife's over here trying to mess with me.
Tell me more about that. Tell me more about Solo as the wild card.
I thought you were gonna say, tell me more about your wife.
I don't want to object. If she was dumb enough to marry Hook, I don't want to know anything about her.
Oh.
She's got a great personality.
I met his
She's
wife.
a very nice
Lovely
woman.
She is one of the nicest people you'll ever meet.
She
I
kind of
know.
angry right now, but she got
Look what
she got a pie
she
bacon
put
right
me
now.
up with. I love you,
All right.
John.
Yeah, I love you guys too. God damn it.
So going back, I think,
Fuck.
you know, see the Usos dropping out. I think Sammy and Kevin winning the titles, but that takes care of that problem. There's still not that fourth to take care of Solo. I think it's gonna be a thing where Roman's gonna be in a tough spot, and the Usos and Solo are gonna be out there, but they're gonna kind of just walk away from him, and Solo's gonna be kind of conflicted, but eventually side with his brothers.
Do you think that begins the narrative of, like, I mean, because Jay's kind of been, Jay and Jimmy both individually, more Jay, but he's kind of bounced back and forth of, do I want to be here? What's my allegiance? How much do I care about my family? Do you think that that's going to be Solo's narrative now?
I think Solo's just gonna align with his brothers.
Okay.
Just because of brothers, you know what I mean? Like, and that whole, you know, he let Solo kind of get embarrassed on Raw on Monday by, you know, Cody kicked him in his face, Tony wasn't ready, Solo went to react, and Roman pulled him out. You know, like, I think that may be some distrust between Solo and Roman. I think it's gonna be a thing where Roman's going to turn to look for help, and they're going to be out there, and they're just going to kind of not help. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The question then is, what piece of the pie does Solo get? You know what I mean? Because the Usos maintain their tag team champion title. Roman himself, obviously, if he wins, maintains that Universal Champion. But I mean, like, at some point, Solo's part of the bloodline. He's part of the family. At some point, you got to throw him a bone. Like, he can't just be the backup dancer for the bloodline for too long. He's a great fighter. He's got to go one direction. He's got to go up or he's got to go down. You know what I mean? He's not going to be happy sitting where he's at.
Yeah,
I think they're going to have to give him something or they're going to lose.
he did have that NXT title when he first showed up, though. That made the bloodline look almost complete, where everybody had a title. But we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna go ahead and end it here.
Ken died, guys. It was his last episode.
No, he didn't die. He's got to go to work in the morning. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and end this episode. Give us a follow on Twitter at Cheap Pop Wrestling Podcast. Follow us on Instagram at Cheap Pop Podcast. TikTok at Pop This Potty for the Cheap. And on Facebook, yeah. It's, there's a reason why we keep getting our account keeps getting deleted on there. Make sure you give us a like on Facebook at the TNJ Sports Podcast. We're under that umbrella. We're gonna go ahead and sign out.